Proposition 14 is about stem cell research and was put on the ballot by people who collected more than 600,000 signatures from registered voters in California. The question to voters is, should California borrow $5.5 billion to continue funding stem cell research in the state? In 2004, the federal government placed limits on stem cell research and stopped federal funding for it. That same year, California voters approved a law allowing stem cell research and authorizing $3 billion to create the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine, which I'm now going to call CIRM. And to date, CIRM has awarded $2.7 billion in grants to universities and other entities to develop treatments and cures for diseases that affect the brain, kidneys, heart, respiratory system, as well as for diabetes, cancer, HIV and AIDS, and some others. Grant recipients are required to pay the state a portion of the income from any sale that they may realize from these inventions. And to date, the inventions have provided about $350,000 back to the California General Fund. On July 1st, 2019, CIRM suspended applications for any new projects because they had run out of money. So Prop 14 is intended to provide funding to continue research and also to make treatments that have been developed more accessible to the public. It's also typical for basic research to take as long as 10 or 20 years before any significant results are seen, and so they're on a normal timeline for basic research. Okay, so Prop 14 proposes to allow the state to borrow $5.5 billion to continue funding CIRM with the following requirements. No more than 7.5% of the funds can be spent on administration, and the remainder will be spent on grants to the California State University and community colleges to train students in stem cell research, including fellowship programs for grad and postgrad students, and then also be spent on facilities dedicated to human embryonic stem cell research. $1.5 billion is dedicated to diseases affecting the brain and the central nervous system, like Alzheimer's, dementia, epilepsy, and Parkinson's. And the number of people who oversee CIRM will be increased from 29 to 35 people. Also, the state will collect 3% royalties on any product that becomes marketable out of these organizations. The estimated fiscal effects for this proposition, so the way it would work is the state would sell $5.5 billion of bonds to investors, and then they would pay back those bonds with money out of the California General Fund with interest. And the total cost to the state, including the interest, would be about $7.8 billion, paid at a rate of about $260 million per year over 30 years. Money in the general fund gets there, is put there by personal income tax, sales tax, and corporate income tax. And in January 2020, California projected to end the year with a $5.5 billion surplus, meaning $5.5 billion more than what they had planned to spend. But in May, there was $54.5 billion less in the budget than what we had planned to spend, or a deficit. And that was due to the pandemic, which has increased expenses and decreased tax revenue into it. So a yes vote means you support issuing $5.5 billion in bonds to be spent on stem cell research in California, and a no vote means you don't. So support for Prop 14 has collected about $9.3 million from several individuals, as well as the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, Open Philanthropy Action Fund, and some others. And people who support Prop 14 say CIRM funding has attracted over $3 billion in matching funds, created over 55,000 jobs, and generated over $600 million in state and local tax revenue. They also say that over 2,900 medical discoveries have been made through CIRM funding, and that very few private industries have the billions of dollars to spend on basic research like this. People opposing Prop 14 have so far not donated any money, and that could change between now and Election Day. People who oppose Prop 14 say California should invest in healthcare, housing, jobs, education, and other pressing needs instead of stem cell research, and they also say private companies could do this type of work instead of using our tax dollars.